Welcome to this episode of Real Chemistry. In this brief episode, we're going to calculate calories from macronutrients, or as the cool diet people call them, macros. And so our food is made up primarily of three macronutrients. There's tons of micronutrients, which would be like vitamins and minerals, but the macronutrients are the big things in our food that contains calories. And the energy we get from food is not so dissimilar from the energy that you might get from gasoline to go driving. So here you see a bunch of cars driving. They're burning up gasoline and moving down the road. Here you see human food, which looks way more delicious. You eat that, you burn that up, and you can run down the road. So what's in this thing that gives it energy? Well, there's three basic substances in our food that give us energy. And these are our macronutrients. They're carbohydrates, protein, and fat. So if we think about the bread on our sandwich, that's mostly carbs. Now, the truth is, most every complex food, like bread, has some of each of these things. But typically speaking, things made from grains are mostly carbs. And you might have some protein or some fat, depending on your exact recipe, but mostly carbs. You look at the meat, and the meat is where you're going to find the highest amount of protein. And depending on how lean it is, you'll find some fat there too. So chicken, for example, is almost all protein. Fatty beef might be half protein and half fat. The cheese, on the other hand, that's mostly fat. There's very few calories in all those veggies, but to the degree that there are calories there, those are mostly carbs and occasionally a little bit of protein. So anytime you get calories from food, you're getting it from one of these three categories. That's almost always true, with limited exceptions. For example, alcohol contains calories, but alcohol itself is not a carb, a fat, or a protein. But in general, the main three ways you get energy are from carbs, fat, and protein. And so that's the main three ways we can determine the calories in our food. And if you want to do that, you can start with the grams of carbs, and all you have to do is multiply that by 4. So for every single gram of carbs you eat, you get 4 kilocalories. And remember that a kilocalorie is really what all of your nutrition labels are calling a calorie. So when you read on the back of your nutrition label that your food has 100 calories, it actually should more accurately say that there's 100 kilocalories. In any case, 1 gram of carbs, 4 kilocalories. 1 gram of protein, also 4 kilocalories. 1 gram of fat has 9 kilocalories. So fat is the most energy dense, which makes sense, right? What's fat for? It's for storing energy. And so it makes sense that it would have more energy than the other substances. This is also, by the way, why there was a large emphasis, especially in like the 80s and 90s, on eating low-fat diets. They said, look, fat contains more calories, so if we focus on the less calorie-dense things, that'll be good. Turned out that we did that by pulling fat out of things and adding sugar, which is also bad. So, in any case, it's more complicated than just which nutrient you should eat. All right, so if I want to calculate, but I'm not a dietitian, so just ignore any dietary advice you hear and just follow the math. Okay, so if we want to calculate how many calories are in our food, all we have to do is follow those equalities. So here what we're going to do is calculate the energy in our burger. So this is nutrition facts for a burger from the nutrition information. And we're trying to get the energy in kcal. So here it lists total fat, total carbs, and protein. Now it does break them down into smaller bits down here. So for example, there's 15 grams of total fat. 6 of those grams are saturated fat. And presumably that means 9 of them are unsaturated fat, but that's not separately listed. 49 grams of carbs. Of those carbs, 5 of them are dietary fiber and 21 are sugars, and the rest a variety of others. And then we have all the protein. So you want to highlight those total fat, total carbs, and protein numbers to be able to get calories. Now, what are the steps here? All we're going to do is multiply fat by 9, carbs by 4, protein by 4, and then we're going to add them together. So pretty straightforward. We got fat. We're going to do 9 calories per gram times the number of grams, which is 15. And when we do 9 times 15, using our magic calculators, we get 135. That would be kcals, or as your food would list it, just plain old calories. Carbs, 4 times 49 carbs. So a lot of carbs there. That would give us 196 kcals. And then protein is 21. Oops, we'll do 4 times 21, which would be equal to 84 kcals. And now all I got to do is add them up. So I add 135 plus 196 plus 84, and I get 415 kcals. That means that this hamburger would have 415 calories, as we're used to talking about it. And those come from fat, protein, and carbs. You can see that even though fat is the smallest in terms of mass, just 15 grams, it actually contributes the second most calories because it's so energy dense. Okay, so that's how you can use the macronutrients in food to calculate their calories. Thanks for watching this episode of Real Chemistry.